Hello there. We're back here with another book thing. Um, Still figuring out how I like to do these, but I want to talk about a book. So I'm going to talk to you about a book. I would have talked to you about this book sooner, to whenever I had finished reading it, but I didn't feel well. So we're a couple days out now. Thoughts are a little less fresh, but maybe that's better. Maybe I'll hold stuff against the book less. The book, in this case, is The Dinosaur Lords by Victor Milan. I think that's how you say his name. Victor, I got. Anyway, overall, it was decent. We're going to get into specifics in a minute. Overall, it was decent. If I found the next book, there's only 3 because he died halfway through a series. If I found the next book really cheap, I might pick it up. I wouldn't buy it for full price. That's where we're sitting at with this. Okay, so first let's talk about some good things. I like to talk about some good things first, and there's some good things about this book. Number 1, the prose was pretty decent. There were occasionally points where I'd stumble over it, get tied up in itself trying to be clever, but not enough to mess with the experience too much. Just not as a necessarily as a selling point of, oh, the prose is amazing. You know what I mean. Number 2, the dinosaurs are cool. One thing I really liked is that, and I can't see where this would maybe be the opposite of what some other people would want. The dinosaurs weren't overused. They were part of the economy. They were part of nature. They were a part of war. All 3 things we got to see. But it wasn't the Flintstones. Everything wasn't dinosaurs. Why? Because dinosaurs are really big, really strong, and would be very expensive to maintain, especially meat-eating dinosaurs. I think we only see 3 meat-eating dinosaurs domesticated or tamed, depending on the dinosaur, in the whole book. And I mean, not a lot of them. Not a lot of screen time for those 3 either. Because feeding a large creature in captivity that much meat is going to get really expensive. It's pretty simple. Even if you can raise dinosaurs as meat, it's just going to be expensive. So, and there was some interesting, trying to come up with military tactics with dinosaurs, and nothing there that was some of it was cool, nothing that made me go, but that's just dumb. So that's a big positive. Now, there were some stuff with sword fighting and whatnot that I was like, that's just dumb. But you win some, you lose some. Okay, so we follow mainly 3 storylines. Rob, whose name I can pronounce, Melodia, whose name I can probably pronounce, and Jom. We're going to call him Jom, which just seems silly since my name is John, to call someone Jom. But Jom it is. Rob's and Jom's stories. I liked Rob's story. There are some issues with, we'll get to in a minute, which is with how everyone who wasn't one of our protagonists was written. And that pops up a lot in his story. But him and he was with his kind of hero, Carl, and they were off together doing adventures. It was pretty interesting, those 2. Jom got his story was a little more preachy, I want to say, a little more of a morality tale. Not necessarily. His storyline was interesting. His morality tale was not. I think that's the best way to put that. Melodia was her storyline. In theory, was to get us at keep us at the center of all the intrigue. Kind of like Ned Stark in the first Game of Thrones book. In reality, she just kind of stood to the side, moaned that she didn't have the power to change things, and then things didn't change, or when they changed, they were not to her benefit. Just very slow, took forever to go anywhere, and well, we can get to this problem. It maybe would have been more interesting, her not being able to change anything, seeing the doom coming, which she didn't see coming, but the reader could see it coming. But every plotter and planner is very amateurish. Just very amateurish. There's not a lot to really... there's no, not only were there no, whoa, that's how that plan came together. It was formulaic to a sadness, like a dumb formula. It was a very dumb formula. In the case of Melodia's story with the court, it was like, oh, the emperor, who was an elected emperor, kind of like, the notion is it's kind of like the Holy Roman Empire when it was an elective, but amongst one family. Not that the Holy Roman Empire was like that. In this case, it was, elective, but elected from the branches of the family. And her father is the emperor, but he was just kind of a compromise candidate that no one thought was going to be super great. But he got elected emperor, and I wouldn't trust the dude to walk my dog if I had one. I wouldn't trust him to walk a hypothetical dog. Because he would, see a street sign telling him to, watch where he walks, and he would jump in a river. It just doesn't make sense. There's theoretically story reasons for it, but even they were rather weak. In Drom's story, he's dealing with a bunch of other nobles out and about, and you can tell from the author's perspective, nobles standing in for people in power are very self-centered and don't what's the right way to say this? They're very self-centered and don't necessarily think through all the potential consequences of their actions. And he takes that a bit too far, to the point where, they couldn't have held an empire that was made up of people like them wouldn't be a relatively stable empire that maybe could get unstable. It would already be a very unstable empire. An empire disintegrating and everyone was out for themselves. We're not talking, they're making it out like it's the reign of a lesser Roman emperor that was stable, but nobody really cares about him. And, and if we don't stop things, well, then we could go off into one of those civil war periods. What they're describing would be Rome collapsing. I mean, if everyone was this dumb. And even on the small scale, you have, Rob's story. He's a mercenary. He gets hired to train an army. With another guy, they get hired to train an army for some pacifists because they can't defend themselves, but they're getting attacked, and, kind of a standard-ish story. A few twists on it, but, thing. Well, then they go there, and there's the one guy who hired them, and all the other pacifist leaders are like, oh no, you can't have, we can't have someone committing violence on our behalf, which, okay. Still going with people in power are idiots. Notion that's throughout the book, but from their point of view, fair enough. That's a principled thing. Then as soon as they get an army trained, half trained, like quarter trained. Like they're the mercenary dudes are like, we're not ready. This is not ready yet. But then the pacifist leaders all swing around and go, we must go and fight them. And they're like, but we just told you no. And it's like, because they told them no, in this, not in the story. And he's like, oh, we will lead them into battle if you won't go into battle when we order you to. And it's like, your characterization's dropping here, guys. It's falling through. So that's, I think, the biggest issue with the book, which kept it from being something that I would actively seek out to continue the story, is because our couple characters with their libertarian bents, all of them, are so wise. Stupid, not according to the book. According to me, they're stupid to a point. But they're so wise. And then anyone else who has any kind of centralized authority, whether it's religious, local, national, just with any kind of group that isn't just because the group gets together and is like, you're the best person. Not some kind of libertarian, idealized, decentralized cooperation arrangement. If you're not that, you're an idiot. So it gets a little tiresome. But hey, I wasn't aggravated while I was reading it. I was just rolling my eyes a lot, which means I'm not going to go and seek out the next book. Those are my thoughts. If you have different thoughts, comment. I'll talk to you about it. Man, But other than that, that's all I have for the moment. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.